Quick question. When you think of Africa, what pops into your head? Safari lions? Drums and dance? Maybe Wakanda if you're a Marvel fan. But here's a curveball. Millions of white Africans. Yep, you heard that right. Entire families, generations deep, who've been African longer than your Wi-Fi password has existed. From running farms and mines to shaping cities, their presence is huge, surprising, and often overlooked. Today, we're counting down the 10 African countries with the highest white populations, and some of these numbers might shock you harder than a goat chewing on an electric fence. Number 10. Tanzania. Tanzania, home to Mount Kilimanjaro, Serengeti safaris, and about 10,000 white residents. Mostly British, German, Greek, and even some Indian Europeans, this community may be small, but it's far from invisible. These aren't just beach loungers in Zanzibar. Many are deep into tourism, conservation, real estate, and education. Dar es Salaam, Arusha, and Moshi are their key bases. And Arusha, think of it as the safari HQ of Africa, packed with expats, adventurers, and locals who can talk about lions like they're their nosy neighbors. Some families here have been Tanzanian for generations, blending so well you'd never guess their ancestors once arrived with colonial maps and questionable mustaches. But 10,000 is just the appetizer. Let's move to a tiny kingdom where sugar runs the economy and the white population is small, but mighty. Number 9. Eswatini. Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, might be small, but it's rocking about 11,000 white residents. Most are from South Africa or Britain, and they've made themselves very useful. Agriculture, they're in it, especially sugarcane farming, which fuels the country's sweetest exports. Tourism, retail and manufacturing, yep, they're there too. You'll find them in Mbabane and Manzini, often with dual citizenship that lets them bounce between Eswatini and South Africa like it's just a weekend road trip. But if you think sugar farming is impressive, wait until you see the next country, where white settlers went all in on agriculture and left fingerprints all over the national identity. Number 8. Zambia. Zambia, formerly Northern Rhodesia, hosts around 15,000 white residents, mainly of British descent, with some South African ties mixed in. These folks aren't casual expats. Many are farmers, engineers, educators, and business owners. The Copperbelt region and Lusaka are their main hubs, powering agriculture and mining industries. Large-scale farms, still a thing. And though Zambia's political landscape has shifted dramatically since independence, this community continues to play a key role in the economy. But the real kicker? Zambia's neighbor takes that influence and cranks it up a notch, small in number but loaded with economic clout. Number 7. Botswana. Say hello to Botswana, Africa's poster child for stability and diamonds. Around 16,000 white residents call it home, and their economic footprint is hard to ignore. They're running cattle ranches, diamond mines, and safari tourism like pros. If you've ever drooled over photos of luxury lodges in the Okavango Delta, chances are they had a white Botswana hand in it. Many aren't just passing through, they're long-term settlers who see Botswana as the perfect mix of stability, wealth, and wide-open opportunity. Some families here have roots stretching back generations, as solid as the country's baobab trees. Now that's impressive, but it's just the setup. Next, we head to a country where colonial tea parties collided with skyscrapers, and the white presence shaped an entire highland legacy. Number 6. Kenya. Kenya, land of world-class runners, the Great Rift Valley, and about 35,000 white residents. Most are of British descent, and their roots go way back to colonial times when British settlers claimed the fertile highlands like monopoly players on a sugar rush. These white Kenyans aren't just sipping tea in Karen while watching giraffes from the porch, though to be fair, some absolutely are. They've had deep influence in agriculture, especially coffee, and tea plantations, as well as conservation, tourism, and real estate. Nairobi, Naivasha, Nakuru, and Laikipia are their hotspots, with sprawling estates that sometimes look like something out of a Netflix drama. What makes Kenya unique is how many white families stayed after independence, becoming part of the country's identity. From managing wildlife conservancies to running multi-million-dollar agribusinesses, their presence is more entrenched than a hippo in muddy waters. And if you think Kenya's mix of tea parties and safari lodges is wild, wait until you see the next country, where Portuguese influence runs so deep it's basically baked into the national DNA. Number 5. Mozambique. Next up, Mozambique, home to beaches that look like Photoshop filters came to life, and about 40,000 white residents. Unsurprisingly, most are of Portuguese descent, since Mozambique was a Portuguese colony until 1975. After independence, many Portuguese packed their bags and left. Then came civil war. Cue even more departures. But here's the plot twist. In the 2000s, when Mozambique stabilized and its economy opened up, Portuguese investors and professionals came flooding back. Why? Simple. Tourism, mining, agriculture, and infrastructure. Today, you'll find them in Maputo and Beira, building hotels, managing construction projects, and keeping Portuguese culture alive through food, language, and business ties. Walk through central Maputo, and you'll see cafes that feel more Lisbon than Africa, except with way better prawns. But Mozambique's story is just the teaser. Next, we head west, to a country where white settlers didn't just return. They turned the economy into their playground, leaving behind skyscrapers, oil fortunes, and construction empires. Number 4. Angola. Coming in at number 4 is Angola, home of oil, diamonds, and about 50,000 white residents. Most trace their roots straight to Portugal, and that history is written all over the place. When Angola gained independence in 1975, a lot of Portuguese left in a hurry, but when the Civil War ended and the oil money started flowing in the 2000s, they came back faster than a DJ playing Despacito at a wedding. Today, Portuguese Angolans are heavily involved in construction, finance, real estate, and civil engineering. Walk through Luanda, and you'll see Portuguese influence everywhere, from the language to the restaurants serving pastel de nata like it's Lisbon with extra sunshine. Many of these families keep dual citizenship, hopping between Portugal and Angola like it's a budget airline commute. Their presence in the economy is so strong, you could argue that Portuguese isn't just a language here, it's a business strategy. But if you thought 50,000 was big, the next country once had over 250,000 white settlers before politics turned the numbers upside down. Number 3. Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, once called Southern Rhodesia, is next with about 30,000 white residents. Now, here's where history takes a dramatic turn. At independence in 1980, Zimbabwe had nearly 275,000 white people, mostly of British descent. They dominated farming, education, and business. But then came the land reforms and political upheaval of the 2000s, and many left in a mass exodus. The ones who stayed, tough as nails. They've remained active in education, healthcare, and small businesses. And while the number has shrunk dramatically, their legacy is still visible in farming techniques, infrastructure, and even the cultural mix of the country. It's a story of rise, fall, and resilience, like watching a soap opera where the plot twists involve tractors, sanctions, and currency inflation instead of love triangles. And if you think Zimbabwe's white community had it rough, the next stop is a country where European settlers didn't just stay. They became one of the largest white populations on the entire continent. Number 2. Namibia. At number 2, we've got Namibia, where deserts look like Mars, and the German influence is so strong you might forget you're in Africa. Around 150,000 white residents live here, making them one of the largest white populations on the continent. Most are Afrikaners and Germans, and their cultural footprint is massive. Walk through Windhoek, and you'll see German street names, bratwurst restaurants, and Oktoberfest celebrations that could rival Munich, minus the freezing cold. German is still widely spoken, and architecture in some towns looks like a Bavarian postcard that took a wrong turn into the Kalahari. Economically, white Namibians are heavy hitters in commercial farming, mining, trade, and tourism. Whether it's cattle ranches the size of small countries or safari lodges that attract visitors from across the globe, their influence is everywhere. And while they're a minority, their impact on Namibia's economy is like salt in cooking, small in volume, massive in flavor. But if you thought 150,000 was a lot, wait till you meet the heavyweight champion of white populations in Africa. Number 1. South Africa. Drumroll please, because topping the list is none other than South Africa, with around 5 million white residents. That's about 8% of the total population, making it the largest white community on the continent by far. The group is diverse: Afrikaners, descendants of Dutch settlers, English-speaking whites of British descent, and smaller communities of Portuguese, German, and French origin. Their history is tied to everything, from colonial settlement to the rise and fall of apartheid, to the present-day economy and politics. Even after decades of change, white South Africans remain massively influential in agriculture, business, academia, and land ownership. In fact, they still own a majority of the land, a fact that sparks debates hotter than a Johannesburg summer. Culturally, they've shaped South Africa's identity too. Think rugby, Afrikaans music, Cape Dutch architecture, and of course, braais, barbecues that could feed an army. Love them or hate them, white South Africans are woven into the very fabric of the nation. So, from Tanzania's safari settlers to South Africa's 5 million strong, one thing is clear: white Africans aren't outsiders. They're a permanent, complicated, and fascinating part of the continent's story. And there you have it, the top 10 African countries with the highest white populations. Surprised, confused, maybe Googling flights to Windhoek now? Either way, Africa is way more diverse than the stereotypes let on, and its history is full of twists that continue shaping the present. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button harder than a kudu hitting a Land Rover, subscribe for more bold takes on Africa's hidden stories, and share this video with someone who still thinks Africa is just lions and Wi-Fi struggles. Because here, we don't just tell you the news, we tell you the stories nobody else dares to.